I'm Eugenio Vargas, storyteller of Into the Motherlands, and you're listening to Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG talk.
This week, Morrus, PJ, and Jessica are joined by Stephen Chenault of Troll Lord Games to talk about Castles and Crusades. In the news, Dungeons & Dragons will be at Gen Con this year, Wizards of the Coast has a new president, a look at the Stormlight Archives RPG, and more this week on Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG talk.
Today's podcast is sponsored by the Rat Catchers Guild. If you have a rat problem, and no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire... Hang on, that's the 80. The Rat Catchers Guild. An expensive solution if you don't have a cat.
All the tabletop role-playing news. We aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG talk.
Hello, and welcome to Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I am Russ, aka Morrus, or Morrus, aka Russ. And with me this week is...
PJ Coffee from the Southampton Guild Roleplayers. Russ, as ever, it is a delight to be here. And joining us now from the surface of the actual sun itself, It's the one, it's the only...
It's me, Jessica from EM Publishing, and my office is very warm and my microphone picks up the fan, so I can't have it on. So yes, my office is like the surface of the sun, but I have turned off the fan so that the audio quality is not awful for you, dear listener. So,
but as we did establish before the show began, there is a non-zero chance that Jess might die while we're recording this podcast, and if so, we are still debating whether or not we would still put out the show.
You weren't debating that. I asked you if you would, and you said yes. It would be great
okay.
listening figures. So, yeah. So that was...
I mean, how about if it starts getting too hot and you don't feel well, we can stop.
What an idea! What an idea!
That is just far too sensible.
Yes.
We don't do sensible on this podcast.
Apparently not. Apparently not.
Okay, should we do some news though?
Yes.
Interesting idea. We should.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let us start with Gen Con and players' handbooks.
Yes.
And the availability thereof.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Gen Con is in 2 weeks' time, first weekend in August, the 1st to the 4th of August. And D&D's Wizards of the Coast are there this year, which is news in itself, like having a lot of presence. More so
they're definitely coming back to major conventions because they spent several years away from major conventions.
Well, it's part of that PR community rebuilding following the OGL crisis, isn't it? Because going to conventions is going to make them more money. It's not going to be significant to their bottom line.
I think they were at Gen Con last year.
They did turn up and do stuff following the OGL because they were like, we need to do some community building PR stuff. But they had more time to actually...
Properly here this year.
Yeah, I think they didn't have much time. I think it was a last minute decision, like a PR crisis management last year, whereas this year it's...
a bit more planned.
Yeah. So
anyway, what were you saying about player handbooks, Russ?
Yeah, so as we all know, the D&D 2024 Player's Handbook comes out on September the 17th, officially.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks before that, if you're in the US and have access to a local game store or Canada. Or if you're going to Gen Con, August 1st to 3rd, 4th, August 1st to the 4th, you can pick up one of 3,000... only 3,000 copies of the Player's Handbook, which will be available to purchase at the convention. And these copies will be special ones because they'll have a gold foil D&D logo and a commemorative book plate.
So it's like a Gen Con 2024 kind of special edition.
Nice.
That's
right. Yeah.
I was just going to say, they have got a ticketing system, thankfully, so it doesn't get rushed. Because I can imagine first day of Gen Con would be awful. So if you are going to Gen Con online and the Gen Con event ticketing system, there's a free ticket you can select, which is like D&D 2024 Players Handbook. It's a free ticket, but they basically give you a date and a time that you can go collect your book. Just so
there's only one per person per day.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So make sure one person doesn't get there, buy a whole load and sell them on eBay or whatever.
Yeah. So technically you could get 4 if you turned up each day. 1 per person per day.
Yes, if you really wanted to.
Or if you're a family of 5, you could get 20.
But each individual could get their own ticket. So that you could all get your own ticket on the same day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you meant for 20 because of maths.
Yes.
Yeah.
5 times 4. Yes.
It took me a minute. You must find it so worrying when I do bookkeeping.
That's why Zin does the bookkeeping.
That's true. That's why we got Zin.
So basically, August the 1st, everyone's going to know everything about the 2024 Players Handbook because it will be out there. People will be posting spoilers online everywhere. It's just going to, all the NDAs for people that have advanced copies, they expire on August the 1st as well.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, there's no point having an NDA for it once people have it, So,
absolutely.
It's going to happen. So 2 weeks, technically 2 weeks away. D&D 5.5e, 6e, 5.25, 2024, Redux.
Not a new edition.
Not a new edition, TM.
Hashtag 1D&D.
It's not 5e.
Yeah.
It's not 6e.
I like that one.
Yeah, technically it comes out in 2 weeks, technically.
I believe at Gen Con in 2014, all those hallowed years ago when the world was a simpler place, they did this with the 5th edition one as well. They did an early release for the Player's Handbook at Gen Con as well.
I can't remember. I was there, but I can't remember.
Were you there?
I was there. I know they did with the D&D 3E ones, but that was like 2009, 2000.
So, because I wonder if they would have done this even without the AGL thing. Because, like I said, they got loads of other stuff that they're doing. Should we talk about some of the other stuff? Actually,
there's lots of stuff. They've got a whole schedule of stuff.
What are the wizards doing at Gen Con?
Lots of things. Many things.
Well, they're up to no good, probably.
I mean, that's subjective.
It depends on your opinion, but it looks like they're doing loads of stuff. I mean, what full list on the EN World website? So if you are going, you genuinely want to know like a list of dates and times, it's all there. But they've got like watch D&D lives. They've got live games that are playing.
This live game, an eclectic group of D&D superstars, so amazing. We're keeping their identities a secret to unveil at the event itself. They will take the stage and blow your freaking mind. There's 500 event tickets.
Imagine it was us three.
Jessica.
Are we D&D superstars?
Are we not?
So somebody's actually heard of me from D&D apparently, so I'm like, okay. And not in the context of RPGs. Like they've heard of me. Yeah, it was bizarre. Right, so there you go. I have notoriety at least.
Well done.
I do not. I am skirting around the periphery of their vision.
I think the term skulking is more your thing.
Yes.
I am apparently a micro celebrity. With the emphasis on the micro. micro. Nano is a better nano celebrity.
Wow.
Pico.
Is Pico smaller than Nano? What order they go in? Yeah, okay. Pico celebrity. Fine. Fine. Pico celebrity.
You could be very small.
That works for me.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So they've got a multiverse and cocktails thing as well.
And there's a book, isn't it?
That makes sense.
Yeah. That was like
Art of Arcana and Heroes Feast.
Yeah. So Heroes Feast has all the cocktails in it, and Art and Arcana has the multiverse in it. I get it. I get the pun. Well, yeah, okay. Multiverses and cocktails. I get it now. Okay, so
yeah, I mean, sure.
Don't worry.
I won't. Let's go.
Train of thought stuff. So they're doing various panels. There's a panel where they take a deep dive into the player's handbook. There's various designers signings from Chris Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, and others et al. That et al.
That means and everyone.
I was basically that's one prolific author. There are so many books, scientific papers, all sorts of things. I don't know how they have the time, and they're going to be there signing D&D books. Amazing. Peter does not.
We know we did speculate that I may perish during this podcast recording, but it is in fact PJ who now perished live on the podcast via Russ's vicious mockery.
Do you not approve of my jocular deviation into? I don't even know what I'm saying. Let's move on. Let's move on. Right.
All right. Speaking of vicious mockery, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. You'll be shocked to hear, and I'm playing a bard in my current run. And the vicious mockery spell, they've got loads of different fun insults in there, which is a great addition to my gameplay.
Quite cool. I have coming from Loki Battle Mats, they did a deck of many insults on Kickstarter.
Oh, nice.
And I got notification that it's on its way.
That's useful.
That'd be kind of fun.
That will be. Because I always struggle when I played a bard doing Vicious Mockery. They're like, well, what do you say? And I'm like, I can think of nothing. Nothing witty or clever in this moment. But yeah.
Wisdom has been chasing you, but you have always been faster.
You just need one of those
exactly.
Shakespearean insult generators. There's loads of those on the web.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many solutions. Did I do any of them? Absolutely, I did not.
No.
Anyway, do you want some more news
you just
about
went, you poopy head. There. Yeah, that'll tell you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Or a good one is, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
That hurts the most. Anyway, do you want some more actual tabletop RPG news?
Ooh,
yes.
It's still Dungeons & Dragons Wizards of the Coast flavoured.
Wizards of the Coast.
Yes, so the Beach Magicians. So, we mentioned before, Cynthia Williams was the CEO, or president, of Wizards of the Coast. She resigned a few months ago because she is taking up a role at Funko. And we've been wondering who the next CEO will be.
Well, I know.
Well, now we know, and anyone that reads EN World will also know. So they have announced. So Wizards has announced that John Haidt is the new CEO. He has previously managed the World of Warcraft franchise for Blizzard Entertainment.
Yep.
So it's a video gaming background. So that means that Hasbro is still focused on putting the digital online side of Dungeons and Dragons, which no surprise. Yeah, so Haidt worked at Blizzard for 12 years, so he's done World of Warcraft and Diablo. Big part of his role is looking at Hasbro's entire network of game studios and digital licenses, as well as D&D.
Yeah, so basically he's best known for managing World of Warcraft franchise.
Yeah.
So, and people have pointed out, that's the second person in a row who's come from a video gaming background, because Cynthia Williams came from Microsoft and had a video gaming background.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a valid point. But I would say that I'm not sure where else they would go to get executive level people, because there aren't any comparable tabletop RPG companies that people can move from to Wizards to become. Do you know what I mean? Maybe someone from Paizo, but I can't think of anyone else. So where else would they go to get executive, senior management people?
Other people that are running tabletop RPG companies as well, that's going well, it's usually their passion project and something they're doing, so they wouldn't
basically,
Russ,
if you're not Wizards or Paizo, basically.
Yeah. But also, Russ, if you were, this didn't happen, if you were offered to be CEO of Wizards of the Coast, I think you'd probably say no, because you're like, well, no, because I'm doing my own thing and I don't want to do a corporate kind of.
Yeah, no, that's not what I want to do in my life. No,
I think the majority of tabletop RPG publishers I know are very much like that. So people that run companies like that, usually they're not as interested in that more corporate structure, because it's a very different thing running your own small.
Oh, absolutely.
TTRPG publishing thing.
I think I'd be much happier doing this than that. Also, I wouldn't be competent to do that. But that's another question entirely. But
I wasn't saying. But you know what I mean. That's what I mean. There's not something comparable, because there's not loads of people that are CEOs of other TTRPG publishers that you could port across into the role.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring in sort of executive level people from a major spoon manufacturer, but it's just not. I think you're talking video games. Do you know what I mean, though? They're adjacent.
You're going to be involved in nerd culture. You're going to have some understanding of community building and things like that. Because the thing is, with World of Warcraft, that does have a huge community fan base around it.
So maybe a big board game company, maybe, but
something in tabletop, but
or maybe even trad publishing.
Yeah,
but then I don't know if traditional publishing would understand the fan community as much. I don't know. I mean, I could. That's why I'm saying I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of fans in trad publishing.
There is, but is the community building the same as you have around games as you do of literature?
Is that a C-suite level decision, or is that more of a we're going to hire some social media and fan wrangler?
I think if you have an understanding of community and how things work, that comes really from the top down, and that's what people have talked about with D&D before. Is that trying to monetize and digitize a lot of D&D means you have a fundamental misunderstanding of how people engage with the hobby. They don't actually need to give you money. I have this book, I have pens and papers, I can now do everything I want as long as this book does not crumble to dust in my hands. And then my brain doesn't crumble to dust in my head from what I remember of the book.
Which was famously a problem with the first set of PHP, but that's going back to 2014, 2015.
Oh,
Problems was glue. It was an issue, but they solved it, so that was good. Yeah.
That's good. But anyway.
Well, yeah, John Haidt, new CEO of Wizards of the Coast.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations. I was addicted to World of Warcraft for a while, but that's the extent of my knowledge of it.
I played it very briefly for an amount of time that can be measured in minutes, and it is significantly less than 60.
I was really into it about a decade ago, because I had a guild and it was all my friends that I knew in real life, so there was about 10 of us, and so that was really fun because we could actually game together and do stuff.
Yes, Owen K.C. Stevens,
yes.
we mentioned before, is fighting cancer.
Yeah.
And there have been various fundraising efforts, which we've mentioned before, but there's a new one to help pay. Owen posted one of his chemotherapy bills on Twitter, and it was like $60,000.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It is so expensive.
It's just so wild to me that being so lucky being British, the concept of paying for healthcare just isn't even a concern. Like,
well, I think he said he wouldn't have to pay all of it, but not paying all of it required a lot of effort. You have to make a lot of calls and a lot of. But even so, it's still expensive. I have pet insurance, which is not the same, but even that's a pain to do sometimes. So imagine when it's something more complex and that kind of health insurance just must take so much energy and time and. But anyway, the news. There's a book by Stan, an illustrator and cartoonist who has worked for TSR, the old TSR, not the new one, Wizards of the Coast and others. And this is a collection of cartoons basically based on various ideas that Owen has posted on social media over the years. So he's tweeted an idea. Owen's quite prolific, just posting various ideas on social media. Stan has taken together a load of those and basically made cartoons out of them. So there's 40 plus of these. It's on Kickstarter. Basically $20 for a PDF. Signed version is $45, and you can get a coupon to print it out at cost at Drive-Thru RPG. But half of the proceeds from that Kickstarter go straight to Owen's medical fees.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
So definitely worth backing. And if you don't know who Owen is, there's a good chance, if you haven't played a game that he's worked on, you've certainly heard of it. Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Star Wars, and the list goes on. I mean, Owen's been in...
prolific.
Yeah, he's been in the industry for over 20 years and has worked on a lot of things. So, and he's a really nice guy as well.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. Yep, so that's good. I hope their treatment goes well and that this makes it easier to pay for it all.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we've got quite a bit of news, haven't we? We talk about some dice. Beadling Grimms make deluxe versions of D&D Adventures. And they are now making some deluxe versions of some dice sets based on classic adventures. Those classic adventures being Ravenloft, Tomb of Horrors, Vecna Lives, White Plume Mountain, Temple of Elemental Evil, and Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Each of these dice sets comes in a box designed to look like the module, except it's, obviously box-shaped rather than book-shaped, and comes with a full dice set, an oversized D20, 2 collectible coins, and 4 cards, each of which features artwork and information from the adventure.
Okay.
So the dice are those old school sort of plasticky dice with just plain so the price of this thing is the full set of 6 dice sets is $178 for all 6 sets.
That being a D4 to D20
plus an oversized D20.
An oversized in addition.
In addition,
yeah.
Okay, so 6 D4 to D20 with an oversized D20 on top.
Plus your coins, plus your cards, plus your fancy
fancy
box with a felt lining and stuff. Anyway, so $178 for all 6. And that, according to their site, says that gives you a $45 saving, which basically means the full price, by my mathematics, assuming my mathematics holds true, is $223 for all 6 sets, which means that each individual set, which will be available later, you can only pre-order the full 6 right now, each individual set, which will be available later, therefore, by my mathematics, comes to $37 per set.
Goodness.
Which is quite a lot for a dice set, I got to say. But, you do get more than that. But the dice themselves are very plain. They're not fancy dice.
That's what I was going to say. I was looking and thinking, oh, what's this going to be? Because I've seen some bespoke, custom, beautiful dice. Like, I've seen some dice sets that are really fancy that have been like $200 for a set. But I've looked at them and it's clearly they're handcrafted and something really special. Have I bought them? No. But do I understand why they're that? Yes. These dice, I look at them and I'm like, they're not exciting. They do.
Well, they look like 1970s dice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, I don't know if I'm missing something. Maybe but this is the promo image they've shared. So this is clearly them being like, this is what it is. But they look like good dice. They look like nice dice. Lovely.
I mean, they're not,
no issues with them.
They're not quite as bad as the very oldest ones where you actually had to colour in the numbers yourself.
Yes.
Not quite that bad.
I mean, did you see those? Like, wow. I didn't think they'd have been around. Well,
yeah.
Back when Russ was a lad.
Yeah.
Not that much older.
But yeah, I mean, the whole set looks nice. It's pretty.
It does.
The felt lined box. It's nice boxes, nice sets. They are collector's items. Beadle and Grimm do these sort of things designed for people with more money than sense, essentially.
I mean, they are trying to evoke with those covers. They're trying to evoke a certain period. Yeah, you can see it's like they sort of look like old books.
Yeah.
So I can see why they're not like super fancy dice, but
the dice themselves aren't fancy, but the set is fancy. Like the box and the coins and the cards and the felt lining, so the whole package is fancy, but the dice themselves are not.
If I saw those dice in 2000, I think I'd thought they were great. I'd be like really pleased. They're much nicer than like.
They're functional, clear dice. I mean, you can read them easily. They're
like if I'm looking at the same ones, the Ravenloft ones, for example. That's like 30 years of dice making technology right there, easy. It's not as exciting as modern dice because modern dice are absolutely bonkers, crazy things. It's just like Bluetooth and just levels of
Bluetooth.
Yeah, have you not seen Bluetooth dice?
No,
that's not even new. That's
I don't care
4 or 5 years old. Yeah, you could get that. I mean, some of them are quite good. Accessibility.
I just want shiny click clacks.
I have some cool LED dice.
Yeah,
you roll them and they light up.
We got dice that light up. We got dice that you can control to roll on a number.
Okay.
Apparently, yeah, it's just wild. But yeah.
Anyway, these sets are things that exist for those that want such things.
They do. Yeah, I'm a bit of a dice goblin. I love collecting a fancy die, as multiple are known. But these don't excite me. And I'm quite easy. I'm a bit of a sucker for fancy dice. I have paid regularly for one set of dice £20. I've done it a few times.
I've never done that.
I have. I'll show you my dice collection sometime. It's pretty shiny things.
Yeah.
So I have been known to do that. But these.
If you're listening, do not look at the comments on the involved because wow, I made a mistake there.
I'm surprised because Beadle and Grimm's normally when I see stuff I go, ooh, shiny, and it is tempting and interesting to me. And this set doesn't do that for me. But maybe that's because I'm not the target audience. Maybe I don't. There's going to be that level of nostalgia. Yeah, and I don't have that, so maybe that's the bit that's missing. For the same reason that I love Hero Quest, but a lot of people, if they don't have nostalgia, sit down and play it. And they're like, this isn't that amazing. But I'm like, oh. But it is, because it's my childhood joy.
Yeah.
There's an 8-year-old excitement of discovering this type of game for the first time here.
Well, basically, like any 80s TV show.
Should I give you some other tabletop RPG news?
Okay, you do one, then I'll do one. I've got one lined up too.
Well, it might be the same one. Is it Tabletop Mirror?
No.
Oh, good.
So you do your one, and I get a different one.
So, there is, I don't know if you're familiar with these, because I'm actually not. This is the first time I've heard of them doing this news item. So there is a homebrew campaign manager called Tabletop Mirror. So they allow GMs to make custom SRD styles rule sets for their campaign so they can share all the information with their players in an easy way. And you can plug it into existing open license content, create your own custom content. It's got lore management, timekeeping, map making. So loads of stuff. If you're making your own homebrew world, loads of tools to make it easy for you and share it with your players, pretty much. In summary, that company, Tabletop Mirror, has purchased another company, or they have acquired a service called Rollgate, ROLE, and that's a play by chat service.
Okay.
So there's plans for them in the future to kind of like integrate new features and make it one whole thing. And Rollgate so it's designed for play by post style role playing games, and it has loads of different features and stuff for that style of play. But yeah, so they're kind of integrating and making it a thing. And we might get some more news on this because Tabletop Mirror has a BackerKit project pre-launch page up, which is going to launch next month in August. So I wonder if this is part of bigger plans.
Maybe. There's a bit of this consolidation going on at the moment, isn't there? With like Roll20 acquiring Demiplane and stuff like that. So,
well, in the press release, they have said that Tabletop Mirror already can do most of what Rollgate does.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think there was some overlap. So it's not a huge thing for them to integrate both things. And they've done a full press release for existing users, so they know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
They've got things in the BackerKit like lifetime subscriptions and stuff like that. But yeah, so that looks interesting. What was your bit of news then, Russ?
So mine was the Stormlight RPG.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
The Brandon Sanderson one, which currently has over 21,000 followers, waiting for it to launch on, I believe, the 6th of August.
Yeah.
Which is 2 weeks away?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. 2 weeks away. It's obviously going to be one of the biggest ever TTRPG Kickstarters. I don't know if it will supplant Avatar at the top of the list, but if it doesn't, it will certainly be the second biggest, without a doubt. So they've been sharing bits of info about the game. And one of the bits of info was how actions and the action economy works. So I'm looking at this, and it's clearly their own system. Basically, you can make choices like fast or slow and use aid or dodge, and it's quite impactful. It's basically the idea. So what they're trying to do is make combat have you making meaningful choices in the middle of combat.
Okay.
I don't know how this would play out in play itself. They've given us a page spread with basically a list of actions, an initiative order. So each round you take a fast turn or a slow turn. Then PC fast turns come before NPC fast turns. Then PC slow turns come, and then NPC slow turns. Is how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Each action has a little 1 arrow or 2 arrows indicating whether it's a slow or a fast. So basically, all the fast ones happen, then all the slow ones happen. But, I don't know how it will play out.
I've heard of other styles of games doing that though, and it does sound interesting to do the fast and slow move situation.
Yeah, so the fast
I don't think it's as clunky as it sounds reading it out loud now when you're in gameplay, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So we got the fast ones. So I'm very confused because it says fast turns are 2 arrows, slow turns are 3 arrows, and then on the list there's things with 1 arrow and 2 arrows. I can only guess that there's a mistake there. So I don't know which ones are actually fast and which are slow.
Or can you combine them to add up to 2 or 3?
It doesn't say you can there, but that doesn't mean you can't, because we've only got to look at one page.
Well, we shall have to find out.
Yeah.
And report back when we have more information, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty big.
Yeah, you mentioned things like brace, disengage, gain advantage, move, strike, second wind, shove, banter, drop.
Love a bit of bants.
Yeah, a bit of banter.
Oh, can you be an archbishop?
Banterberry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Get a cheeky Nando's.
Sorry, the football's been on recently and
wasn't that
something in me?
Well, what was that? That was that James Corden show, wasn't it? That's what that came from.
I think that's just
Yeah, but I think that's where it came from, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know.
I'm not sure. The one where Gavin and Stacey, that one.
I think he used it there, but I don't know if that's the origin story.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Yes.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, PJ's face, the shot. he co-wrote it along with the comedian, the actress, the Welsh comedian actress.
Yeah.
But anyway, they co-wrote it together.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from Gavin and Stacey. I've totally forgotten what we were talking about now. What were we talking about? Stormlight, yes.
Stormlight.
Yes, Stormlight, yeah.
So has anyone read the book?
I have not. So the answer to your question is no, nobody's read the books.
Okay.
Nobody anywhere.
Well, no, nobody here, not nobody.
Right,
Why it's so popular is a lot of people have.
Right?
Right, the answer to your question is yes, somebody has read the books.
All of our listeners will have read the books, right? Just FYI.
Really?
Okay.
All of them?
Every single one.
If you're a listener that has not read it, please email in to PJ's personal email address.
Yes.
Which is morris@podcast.gmail.com.
Your personal email. Yeah. Don't do that. I was joking.
Mm-mm.
Anyway.
No, seriously, it's like Brendan Sanderson and Stephen Erickson just are the most popular recommendations for books outside of Scott Lynch and maybe John Scalzi.
Yeah, well, they did. Well, he did.
He's written a lot of books.
6 million, I think, on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I believe is the number, which is the largest Kickstarter ever by anyone. Not just RPG Kickstarters or fiction Kickstarters, any Kickstarter.
I mean, it depends on how much merch they're going with. If you think about a board game style thing, or because if they go to full like hoodies and stuff, I reckon they might be able to break 10.
We'll see.
Maybe even 12.
We'll see.
It's very possible. It's just very large number of very keen nerds, and I imagine the opportunity to get like the lore Bibles for the Stormlight Archives is going to be something that will make people very, very interested. Even if they don't play RPGs, even though they're just like, I am just a big fan of what's going on, and there are a lot of fans out there. Apparently, it's his magnum opus, like his absolute best work. And you know what? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it. I've actually got a copy of Stormlight Archives, which I fully intend to read. I just haven't yet.
Yeah. I wonder how involved he's going to be, because I've heard that, and I don't know how true this is, but he plays in an Eberron campaign. I've heard. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. But I wonder how involved in the actual RPG he will be, because it's been produced by Brotherwise Games.
Maybe just approvals or things like that, at the very least, for lore. For like, But if they have an understanding of TTRPGs, that's great, because, then they can have informed opinions about it.
I mean, like, the quality of this book is going to be high, the art budget is going to be ludicrous.
Oh, it's going to be gorgeous, of course. Yeah.
Proper computational stuff. I'm just saying that. I don't have any evidence. I just am thinking there'd be absolute fools to do otherwise.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm sure they'll get the funding.
Yes.
Because after 20, how many thousands of people is it?
21,000 so far.
Imagine having a campaign with 21,000 people following it.
My goodness.
Be nice.
I'd be a bit afraid as well.
Yeah.
Think of all the customer service emails you'd get.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But then you'd have enough money to hire an additional customer service person. So,
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Be like, Zin.
Yeah.
Get more hours. 4 times your workload. Get in there. All the emails.
Anyway.
Just for comparison purposes, I thought I'd check out how many people 21,000 is. The Armed Forces of Ireland are around about 7,764 with an established strength of 9,500. So you've got 2.5 Irish armies. Which
so we could
feels
take.
Like
so you're saying we could back this campaign, make the RPG happen, and take over Ireland.
I wouldn't have said that, Jess.
The Irish people don't like it when you say that sort of thing.
I'm not that's like that is.
I'm just repeating what I heard. That's all.
Really? Okay.
Please don't take this into consideration when reviewing my request. A genuine thing.
Shall we move on quickly?
Imagine my citizenship application got declined because of that. Oh.
Let us move on from attempting to declare war on other sovereign countries.
I'm not. That was PJ. I was just clarifying what PJ said.
PJ did not mention war.
No, they heavily implied it.
No, you inferred it. That's different.
That's very true. They can be 2 very different things. But that's why I asked a clarifying question.
Okay.
And is that the news?
Well, we have some news. We announced something this week.
Oh, yes, we did.
We did. We announced the Level Up Gateway this week. which I've been itching to announce for
I know.
ages. Yeah.
Ooh.
So Level Up Gateway is the long-awaited character builder, which we have been playing around with a semi-functional demo of. And it's very slick and very cool. And like you press on sort of like the attack rolls and it rolls it with a dice and it goes across the screen. You know, like all the D&D Beyond flashy stuff. It does all that. It's really cool.
Yeah.
The version that we have, it's more than I thought it could be. Because originally when we talked about this, I was like, well, obviously it's not going to be like D&D Beyond because we can't afford that. They're like a millions of dollar company. But I look at this and I'm like, it looks
as good as that. Yeah.
It looks like, you know.
I mean, the only thing I would say, and maybe it's technically infeasible, but like things like the Foundry option, where you can like select individual things, like individual elements, and put them together into character. Don't have the whole character system, like have pre-mates for certain. But if that is part of the thing from the start, you're going to save yourselves a lot of trouble in the future with adding things in. But that's just something that occurred to me.
It is
because it's so exciting.
It is very
have
cool.
someone smarter than us doing the actual coding, that side of things.
Yes,
because
only smart user requirements.
Yes,
it is so cool though. It is really cool. I mean, it's proper top tier character builder looking stuff.
Yeah,
like more than I thought that we would be capable of ever producing. So I'm really happy with it.
To be honest, it's something we are not capable of, which is why we found someone who can do it. So we did not have the in-house skills before, so now it's
it's very impressive. And obviously there's a lot of scope for VTTs with the various games that are coming through. There's your what's it, Split the Horde. We'll play that on the Ian World VTT. Sounds like a good time.
Well, VTT's kind of, it's not even on the roadmap at the moment. It's kind of like we'd like to do that.
Yes,
but it's a character builder.
It has the capacity, but first we're making a character builder.
We're making a character
builder as the main focus.
Yes. But the bones of it, they could add other stuff. But we said we'll deliver a character builder. That's what we're going to do. And have it so people can use it. I think it's going to make.
But you can also use it in game because I was like just trying it out, and I opened up 2 different characters in the same campaign. They're in the same campaign, and then I rolled the dice on one and watched the dice roll come up on the other character. It was so cool, So like when you're playing online and you've each got your character up, and someone in the campaign rolls a dice, everyone can see it. It's all very cool.
Oh, okay, amazing.
Yeah.
Nice little things like that.
I mean. It doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
We'll let you beta test it when it's at that stage, PJ, so you can have more of a mooch.
Have a nosy.
Are there any videos that I've missed of it being used?
Not yet, no.
We don't have video. No, we're not. No, not yet.
No.
Okay, there will be. There will be.
That'll be worth looking at.
Yeah.
But later this year, all the original Level Up A5E backers will get to have a play and be beta testers and try it out. So, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, it makes a lot of sense to me that you'd want to have your own platform, but I know I'm personally being asked, kind of like, I don't work for EM Publishing. You do understand this, yeah? I always say publicly, I don't work for EM Publishing. I'm very clear on this, and often preface statements with this statement, but people still ask me and say, oh, but why not go with One Bookshelf that have combined with Roll20? Why not go with Foundry?
But having our stuff in lots of places is better than having our stuff in one place. So all those as well.
It's not intentional funding support.
It's not instead of.
It's not like we're only going to sell our books in one shop in the world. We want to sell them in all of the shops.
Actually, that's an announcement. There's a small shop in Chichester that
and that's the only place you'll be able to buy our books from now on.
No. But speaking to virtual tabletops, as people always ask us about it, and part of my job as business manager when I got in like 2 years ago, I was like, right, let's get on the VTT plan. If you think of any VTT platform, I have contacted them. And if we're not on the platform, it is either one, we have signed an agreement with them and they have not yet coded it, so we cannot announce it. Okay. 2, they ghosted me and I've been emailing them every 6 months to check back in and they continue to ghost me. Or 3, they replied and said, hey, we don't have the capacity right now to code and create this because it's a different system. So, and I'm not naming names of any of them because it's all different things, but please trust and believe. I would like our system to be on every platform out there. And if it is not, it is not.
It's not because we didn't try.
It's not because I haven't tried.
It's not that we thought, no, we don't want to be on that platform.
And I always find it so difficult. People are like, why isn't it on here? And I'm like, the snarky response, because sometimes I wonder, because I've emailed them and they ghosted me.
Yeah, good question. Why isn't it on now?
We sent them emails.
So and there's a business decision that those platforms make, which is a really good question as to why we're doing it on our own one, because then we can do everything on our own terms and when we want to.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when we do different content for new books and things, we can control the timeline that it's on there, because at the moment we don't offer VTT packages with our stuff because a third party does it, and we can't.
But we're talking VTT, so this isn't a VTT though.
It's not. But for example, talking about digital content, but things like that, if we make a new book with new character options, we can control the timeline of when it goes on the character builder site, so we can say, hey, it's going to be here then, where at the moment we don't have that control if we work with third-party suppliers, and that would remain the same. So
the other reason we're making a character builder, of course, is because we said in the Kickstarter that we would. So
we said we would.
It is a thing that we have to do. And also I just think it's kind of incumbent upon any company to at least, I realize not everybody can do it, but if you can do it, make these resources in-house for.
It's just making it easy for people to play the game.
Just remove barriers as much as possible, basically. As many different ways for people to play your game, the better.
I am very much on board with that.
So it's exciting.
I'm very excited about it.
Yes. Fab.
I look forward to finding out more as the situation develops.
Excellent.
Well, I think we're going to have quite a lot of info coming out quite frequently.
Good.
I think we're planning on like hopefully we're going to do like a monthly dev blog showing off how far the coding has got and showing the features in operation and things like that. So partly because we don't want people to forget about it.
It's likely.
So that's the plan.
I mean, I can tell you that the number one thing that people say when I'm saying you try stuff, it's quite good, is but I'm on D&D Beyond.
Yeah, exactly. They say that to us too. Yeah.
So it's common experience. But sure.
Yeah. Sure. Right. Okay. Well, I think we finished the news.
Malak the Maleficent here. If, like me, you're enjoying this podcast, please consider subscribing on Patreon for exclusive bonus content every week and the warm, fuzzy feeling of knowing you are helping to keep the show going. Subscribe at patreon.com/Morrus. There, I said it. Can you stop staring at me like that now? The things I do. All right. Don't forget, patreon.com/Morrus. Can I go now?
Right, so we have a special guest joining us today. We have Steve Chenault from Troll Games, who's joining us today to talk all about things like Castles and Crusades. So, hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing?
We are great. We are trying to cope with unseasonably warm weather, which we're not used to.
Yeah, in the UK.
22 degrees off.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have air conditioning or anything like that, so I'm sweating here. But we'll get through this. We'll get through this.
A few times, and it's without air conditioning. It can get tough. It can get very tough.
Yeah.
Right. So, Castles and Crusades. I think probably most people know what Castles and Crusades is, but I think just before we start, should we just do a very quick sort of primer? Or was it primer? Whichever those two. Primer.
So prime it like them.
Yeah.
For those that aren't familiar with Castles and Crusades, Steve, how would you introduce it and summarize it for people?
So, Castles and Crusades was a game that we created, and we began creating in 2003 and 2004. And basically, we took the open gaming license from Wizards of the Coast and created a game that has all of the elements from Dungeons and Dragons, the same races and the same monsters and magic items, spells, and all of that, same classes. And we retooled it and made it, created the Siege engine, which created a very simple kind of conflict resolution at the table, which is basically an attribute check system. So Castles and Crusades is a role-playing game based on Dungeons and Dragons using the OGL. It can be either high fantasy or grimdark, whatever style you particularly want to do, because the attribute check system allows you to do just about anything.
Would it be accurate to describe it? I mean, I know it kind of predates the OSR. I think the OSR came sort of like, was it late 2000s? But would it be accurate to describe it as an OSR style game or a precursor to the OSR style games?
We never really called it an OSR game, but you're spot on. We released Castles and Crusades in 2004 at Gen Con in August 2004. So it predated that. And a lot of the guys that went on to create the OSR movement tested Castles and Crusades on our boards and what Matt Finch did. I remember that. He's in the original credits of the player's handbook, and he went on to do Swords and Wizardry. Is that right? But Castles and Crusades definitely predated it. And I think it was the precursor that kind of launched that whole. It showed everybody that, look, you don't have to do 3rd edition with the open gaming classes. You can do any edition of Dungeons and Dragons or your own game. Like Goodman has gone and done. You do anything you want with the OGL.
Yeah. I mean, what would then so someone familiar with sort of like the basic tenets of D&D from 3rd edition onwards, what were the differences that would strike them initially? What I mean, stylistically it's different, obviously, but
so the biggest thing we when we created Castles and Crusades, one of the driving motives behind it was to create a very fast-paced game. I run extremely fast combat, so we needed stuff that could resolve quickly, and this goes from not only combat to everything at the table. The skill packages and the feats and all that seemed to kind of slow play down a little bit, especially as those of us who were around in the D20 days remember the number of supplements that were coming out and the prestige classes and feats. It was just getting, it's getting a little bit out of hand very, very quickly. So when Mac Golden and David Chenault, who designed Castles and Crusades, when they created the Siege engine, they wanted to do an attribute check system that was extremely easy and fast. And I think that definitely played into what 5th edition eventually became. They definitely borrowed from Castles and Crusades. I mean, there's no doubt about it, because they have a very similar attribute check system to what CNC did. But the driving motive behind that, and to differentiate it from 3rd edition, which was, it wasn't crazy crunchy, but it could be if you let it become crunchy. It was a little bit slower. So we were looking for speed, and really part of the concept behind Castles and Crusades was I generally believe that all gamers are very imaginative people. It doesn't matter whether they like crunch or they like LARPing, or wherever they fall on that that graph of gamers. They all are very imaginative people, and I've always kind of contended that rules restrict your imagination. It stops you from doing what you want to do, or maybe what you imagine your character can do, and that's what the attribute check system does. The Siege engine allows you whatever you want to try to do, you can do it. And now the CA, which is our GM, has a method to resolve it very fast at the table.
Yeah. And then, of course, you guys worked with Gary Gygax for a number of years before he passed. So I am being invaded by a dog right now. Hello, Marvin. Would you like to play Castles and Crusades? He's like, I don't know, does it taste good?
Right.
Not being quality assured unless it's been chewed on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I met Gary Gygax, I think, twice, both times at Gen Cons, only briefly. What was it like working with Gary? How did you first start talking to him?
So it was really weird when we launched it in 2000 at Gen Con. And unbeknownst to me, Mac Golden, who was the part owner at the time, he took all of our books. There were 4 books and a map in those days, over to Gary's booth at Hectorford, and just gave them to him, said, hey, thank you for D&D, that type of thing, and left it at that. And then about, of course, as you recall, the D20, it explodes in the next 3 or 4 months. It just, everybody's publishing D20. And we didn't have enough content. So Mac and I were talking. I said, hey, man, why don't you just email Gary Gygax, see if he's got something we could do. And I think that's, what? That's not going to happen.
He's not going to reply. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, well, it's scary Gygax. So I emailed him, and then he emailed back within a few hours. Find out later he was very religious about responding to anyone who reached out to him. And we got to talking. We were on the phone within a day or two, and he had this whole series of books that he wanted to publish that his current publisher didn't want to do. It's the Gygaxian Fantasy World series. And we jumped at it. I mean, it's basically before world building was a thing. It was a world building set of books. So we were absolutely, we jumped at the chance.
Yeah. Were you involved with his legendary journeys as well, or was it just the?
There was dangerous journeys that he did.
Dangerous journeys, yeah.
Yes, somewhat. That wasn't us, but we did do. He was publishing a game at the time called Legendary Adventures.
There we go. Confused the two. Yeah.
And we took over that. We did a little bit of Legendary Adventures, but not a whole lot. When he died and the licenses were pulled, we had a whole kind of overhaul. We had 3 core books coming out. The whole standard.
Yeah.
Pulled and shelved, and there it sits for.
Yeah, the thing about licenses. One thing I've noticed, so the system has been out for over a decade, so for a long time. You obviously at the moment we've got the hashtag not new edition of D&D coming out. You actually have not had any new editions of Castles and Crusades. How have you managed to kind of innovate and create bring new life into the game without doing a new edition?
So we're actually celebrating our 20th year of Castles and Crusades this year. So it was
20. Wow.
Yeah, and and you're spot on. We have never done a new edition. We did a slight overhaul. I want to say it's the 4th printing. It might have been a 5th of the Barbarian class and the Monk class, and it was really just we changed the names for the monk abilities and gave them kind of a more generic terminology as opposed to martial arts terminology. We kind of moved away. But that was the only real change. Is now this latest, the 10th printing we're pulling the open gaming license out, so it'll have a few more changes. But what we've done to just kind of revitalize it, we just keep, honestly, one of the things that appeals to a lot of people is you don't have to buy it. And we tell people, if you have the 1st printing or the 4th printing, you're good to go. You can keep playing. You don't need to get this new one. But we add new art. We've gotten better at layout from those days.
Yeah.
You look at the 1st printing. I personally like the 1st printing because I'm not a big fan of tons of art and graphic design and all that. But if you look at our 1st printing, it is block text.
Right. Yeah.
All the way through 128 pages of that. So we've really kind of revitalized that and kind of made that pop out a little bit more. The covers have really attracted people to it. But it's also just reaching a larger audience. Each time we have a printing, we're able to kind of say, hey, this is our 4th printing, this is our 7th printing, and more people start taking a look. And because it's not an edition, I think that really appeals to a lot of people because they don't have to do anything. You can play.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that quite a lot of our listeners are probably 5e players. What would you sort of say to a 5e player? How would, I don't want to sort of put you on the spot, but how would you sell sort of Castles and Crusades to a 5e player, knowing that the style of play of 5e differs somewhat from what you're doing?
I would tell 5e players that this is really the game you want to play. And the reason that is 5th edition, which is it's a great game, it's a fine game, and it's got all the bells and whistles that you want. It too kind of falls into that same trap that so many role-playing games do, is it tries to pigeonhole its players and its DM into doing certain things and behaving a certain way. So if you've got to swim the river, you've got to make a dexterity check or have a swim skill or feat or something built into it. Castles and Crusades isn't that way. If you want to swim the river, all you have to do is say, I dive into the river and try to swim. And then the CK isn't governed by any particular rules. He can make it an intelligence check. He can make it a strength check. It doesn't matter. Whatever that CK decides to do, that character then has to make the check, which not only does it free up the CK, but it also allows players to do stuff that's not written down on their player character sheet.
Sure. Yeah.
It takes a little while. It's very interesting. I've brought in a lot of new players to CNC. It takes about 3 or 4 games, and it took me about 2 or 3 games. Just to let you know, I played AD&D. I never really got into 3rd edition or 4th. I played AD&D from 19 whatever it came out to about 2 years after we released Castles and Crusades. I was very reluctant to switch.
Right.
Really?
It's such a malleable game. I could do anything with AD&D that I wanted to do. When I switched to CNC, and it was basically Mac and Davis told me they weren't going to play any more AD&D until I ran a few games of CNC.
Yeah.
So I sat down and ran it. And it took me about 3 games, and it takes most players about 3 or 4 games to kind of figure out, oh, wow, I can walk away from my character sheet. I can try to convince that bartender to do anything.
It's about moving away from a menu of options. And shifting the burden onto sort of adjudication of rather than specific rules.
Yeah, and that's so many 5th edition players. I watch them streaming. So many of them into this really wild, imaginative role play, which I think is awesome. I mean, it's really cool watching it go from the 1970s when I started, which was very close to a tactical game. It was very close to small infantry combat against the dragon or the giant or whatever. To what it is today, which is this really people sitting down and just doing what you watch on what the Marvel guys do on screen, right? Lifting cities up or whatever they're doing in the latest Marvel movie. You can now try that, and watching new and younger players do that, I think it's fantastic. And CNC is really a really great vehicle to do.
So support wise, what does support for the game look like? I assume you have adventure lines, you have campaigns, you have accessories, and sorry, I'm being mauled by the dog yet again.
It's stuff like Barsoom, which I saw you had coming through. Is that using Castles and Crusades?
We'll be using So what we've got, Castles and Crusades is a huge body of support. We're 20 years into the publication now. So there's the Player's Handbook, the Monster Book, and the Castle Keeper's Guide, which is your 3 kind of standard. Then there's about 120 odd adventures, give or take. We've discontinued a lot, so that number's all over the place. We've got 2 giant books of, I think it's 250 pages each of just NPCs. We've got a complete world setting. You can see the map here. It's got about 15 to 20 books expanding on that. My favorite part of the CNC support system is the Mythos series. We've got the Codex Keltarum, the Codex Germanius, Lamorum. There's 6 of them, a Classicum. They give all kinds of mythologies and all of that stuff. Field Battle has miniature battle rules. So we've got all of that. We've got absolutely just about everything you want to run whatever you need to at the table. And then we've got support material like Amazing Adventures, which is the modern version of role-playing Castles and Crusades. So we've taken the Siege Engine, which is the attribute check system, ported it over to a pulp game, revitalized it AA, and that now you can play science fiction, pulp, whatever it is. And that dovetails right into Barsoom. Barsoom, which we just signed the license 2 months ago, I think, with the folks over at RB. We're going to create, using the Siege Engine, a whole role-playing game based around Barsoom. So, yes, the support material is huge.
Yeah. What does the timeline look like on Barsoom? Is that going to be a Kickstarter? Is that coming up soon?
Yeah. So we've got we relanded all of the Castle Zagyg and Gary Gygax contracts.
Yeah.
So we're kind of locked in to move on that stuff, but we have to move on the Barsoom stuff too. So in 2025, you'll see kind of a twin movement, both with Castle Zagyg, Gary's material, and Barsoom on the other side. Okay. I don't know which I'm more excited about. I've been reading John Carter since the 70s, so it's
I mean, like I was wondering, because John Carter, like Princess Deja Forest, Helium, Farts, were all sorts of different colors of apes. There's obviously like a lot of lore there, but I think what was it? The last thing we saw was maybe getting from about 10 years ago. We had Dominic Monaghan was playing like in John Carter, which was a good film. I certainly enjoyed watching it on DVD, but it cinematically didn't really do very well. So I was just wondering, what was it that prompted you to go with Barsoom?
So Barsoom, I feel when you look at Barsoom, you kind of step out and look at Barsoom and remove John Carter from the story. Just take John Carter, because he's for those who don't know, John Carter's an Earthling who he dies and gets transported to Mars, to this kind of science.
Typical Portal fancy. He's like some Confederate officer or something that gets ported through time and space, and because Mars has lesser gravity, he's suddenly a super athlete, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. He's jumping around. But when you take John Carter out of it and look at Barsoom, look at what Burroughs created, the world is crazy vibrant, and it's almost like he tailor-made it for a role-playing game, because it's got 5 different races, it's got half a dozen classes, it's got these wild, weird-looking monsters, these 6-legged beasts, and it's just it's just tailor-made for it. And it's so unique. The Tharks that you mentioned earlier are tall, 12, 14 tall, with 4 arms and 2 legs, and they shoot pistols and wield sabers all simultaneously. So it's got all of those elements that I think that are perfect for a role-playing game. And I think where most RPGs with Barsoom have kind of moved, and we see this with the Conan stuff as well, they kind of try to build John Carter or Days of Thor or Conan or whoever into these role-playing games. You can't really do that because no one gets to play that guy. That's that guy. It's like playing Superman. It's kind of tough to do. But the world itself, if you can just step into it, I think it's vibrant enough. So that's really what led me to it. We've been trying to get this license. I was going through my correspondence with the Burroughs people because we've worked with them for many, many years. I think I first pitched it back in 06 or 07 or something.
Oh, wow.
I've been trying to get it forever. So at a certain point, I think it was really, this just needs to happen. So
Yeah. We step back to Castle Zagyg. Could you sort of briefly tell us what is that, first of all, and then what's the sort of situation with it?
So Castle Zagyg was Gary Gygax created Dungeons & Dragons back in the 70s, and a lot of what he began playing in was this dungeon. In those days, it was really built for dungeons and not this kind of what it's become today. So everything was a little dungeon. So he started running games in this dungeon and just creating level after level after level for this thing. And he kind of envisioned it open-ended. He had 17 proper levels done, but some of those, I think 3 or maybe 4 had sub-levels. So it's somewhere around 21 levels to this thing. And he eventually, in creating a lore for it, placed it under the castle of this mad archmage, which in those days, I can't remember the mage's name now, it was Greyhawk. It's Castle Greyhawk, and then everything underneath it. When he lost Greyhawk, of course, he changed the name. That goes to Wizards of the Coast. So same concept, same stuff, and becomes Castle Zagyg. So it's this, you basically have the castle itself, which has 2 giant towers and a keep. And then underneath it, there's 17 to 21 levels. Yeah. And he envisioned it open-ended. It wasn't really, when we started publishing it back in 2007, licenses were pulled in 2008, right after he died, so we couldn't continue it. And I remember doing a press release where I said, there were 17 levels of Castle Zagyg. And he shot me an email and said, "Oh, so now you're the arbiter of how big Castle Zagyg is?" It was a hilarious email he sent me over. Yeah. And that's when I realized, he just wants to keep building this out, as forever and a day. Obviously, he's passed. That's not going to happen. We lost the licenses in 2008. We got the licenses back last year, and we began working on Castle Zagyg immediately. I want to get it out. We're going to do a good job on it, but we're going to get it out quickly. It's going to be a focus. Right. This has never been finished. I think that TSR did a short Castle Greyhawk thing, but it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek type thing back in the 90s. It's never, and we managed to get level 1 of 17 levels out. Right. Before the level.
Are you stopping at 17, or are you going to continue to expand?
We're going to stop it. I will be going up to look at what he called the Zagyg Bible here in the next month or so. And I want to take exactly because he had mapped it all out, so we know what's in the 17 levels and the sub levels, and that's all we're going to do. I'm not going to theorize what he wanted. I've got notes that he made, but I'm not doing any of that. Yeah. There's no clarity.
You're not going to go all Christopher Tolkien on it, is the
No. I'm kind of because I don't know. We've worked with Burroughs for a long time, and the Gygax stuff. I think you're kind of morally held to staying as true to the original visionary as you can. Yeah. Obviously, things have to change with time. There's tone that's different now. There's all kinds of things that are different now that we will certainly address and change. But we always try to stay true to the fun side of it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make
I am looking forward. Is that next year? 2025?
We will do a Kickstarter. I'm hoping at the end of this year for the sections that we've already done and 2 more levels. So we'll get through level 3. So it'll be the castle itself, the setting around it, and the first 3 levels will do Kickstarter at the end of the year. And then either second quarter or third quarter next year, probably second, we'll do the next 7 or 8 levels. And we've already hired Mike Stewart. He's working on it right now. He's writing level 2 now. So I hope to be well ahead of the game by the time we do the Kickstarter.
Yeah. I think it's probably fair to say that you're probably Gary Gygax's last publisher. last major publisher? Yeah.
He worked with Heck of Forge, a little bit with Necromancer Games, but we published him up.
Yeah, pretty much.
We worked with him from 2001 to 2008.
Yeah. Is there any more sort of outstanding work that you've got the ability to bring out in the future?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we've been working very closely with the estate. We're looking at bringing the Gord novels back out. We may readdress Legendary Adventures. That was a passion project of Barry's. Yeah, we did the first one, Gord the Rogue. We have released the first one as a hardcover. Now we haven't signed this, but it's all talking to the estates in the last few weeks. All of that's on the table now. So, which is nice to hear. We got to make, everyone has to come to an agreement, but we would like to do all of this stuff. Pick up. And the big one's going to be, and this is going to be hard for Troller Games, Kings of England, Kings of France. Gary was very, very passionate about this board game that he was working on. And we had the map mostly done and the cards done. The rule book, I think, was laid out when he passed away and the licenses were pulled. And that was really his Castle Zagyg he was working on, but his passion project was Kings of England, Kings of France. And that's what he really, really wanted to put out. And that got pulled. So we're gonna get that thing out. But not being board game publishers, that was going to be a challenge. New for us.
Sounds relatable.
We're kind of going through a similar process as well.
We're doing our first board game this year, so relate to many of those things you're saying, that when you're used to doing tabletop RPGs, you've got that kind of process and system down, and then it's similar, but it's something new, isn't it? So
and the terminology's new. Everything's going to be new. So.
Yeah. So what's next for Trollord then? So we got Barsoom, we got Castle Zagyg. What else is on the horizon?
So we're hammering hard right now to get the OGL removed versions of CNC and Amazing Adventures, and those are in the next few weeks, few months, and then we're going to shift focus to what I've been trying to work on forever and a day, which is because I won't be writing Castle Zagyg, and I'll be working some on Barsoom, but the Codex of the Plains is the next big one. For us. Wow. That kind of ties together all of the Mythos series, those board books, our own worlds, Enzaya Air, and it ties in, which is really kind of cool about when you look at Castle Zagyg. There's very specifically in that castle a doorway that leads. Now, we didn't have a license at the time, but Gary was a huge fan of Burroughs, and he's a huge fan of Barsoom, but there's a doorway that leads to the Red Planet.
Really?
So we're going to be able to tie that Castle Zagyg into Barsoom. And we'll do this with the Codex of the Plains, which will kind of hopefully rope all of this, all of this together.
Nice.
So that is the plan.
Okay. Well, Steve, it's been fascinating talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. I can't believe this is the first time I've actually spoken to you, which is a bit weird because I've known who you are for like 20 years, but I think this is the first time I've ever interacted with you. But thank you so much, and good luck with Barsoom, good luck with Castle Zagyg, good luck with everything. It sounds amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, and good luck with the board game and everything you guys are working on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that is it for this week. Thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back next week. So with that, bye-bye. Au revoir.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Apparently I now have to read this to you. This is the official podcast of Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG news, which you can find at enworld.org. You can find show notes at morrus.podbean.com or wherever you found the podcast. If you feel like they deserve it, you can support the show on Patreon. In return, you will receive exclusive bonus content. Just go to patreon.com/Morrus. If you're interested in his babbling nonsense, you can follow @Morrus on the Twitter. Send your emails to morruspodcast@gmail.com. Not all of your emails, just the ones you want us to see. That's it. I'm bored now. You can go away. Shoo, off you go. Goodbye. Get out of here.
Got quite a bit of news, haven't we? Should we talk about some dices?
Dice?
Dicings?
About dice? I don't know what you're talking about with this.
Dice? The plural of dice is no. Why am I making these stupid jokes?
I don't know why.
I don't know why. I start making this stupid joke, and then I get halfway through it, and I realize I don't even want to end here.
That's good. Let's just leave it where it is.